Hi, my name is Joe Rowland and I'm from the School of Agriculture, class of '73. Well, the premise, in my view, is a faulty one. Size-fits-all assumption. My engagement was initiated by an invitation to advise on the selection of the Dice Professor of Apiculture. Afterwards, I helped the new hire by donating time and beehives for some of his new research. My current engagement stems from my support of fossil fuel divestment as an adjunct to other tools in the climate justice toolbox. This combines with what I see as a missed opportunity by the trustees as fiduciaries to embrace it in 2015. Other alumni that I know have also engaged through cooperative extension or because of their employment on campus at Cornell. The time on campus as a student doesn't have anything to do with it, except that we were all once students on campus. Alumni often enhance the student experience. How depends on the ways and means of the individual alum. For example, I've agreed to introduce a student to beekeeping. I've also been looking into how I might assist the Muslim Student Association in their effort to find a more central prayer space on campus. One may choose to assist financially in a general or specific way. The Elephant Listening Project at the Lab of Ornithology introduces student volunteers to the latest in bioacoustic techniques and analysis while they contribute to the conservation of forest elephants. It's an often underfunded project, and it's worthy of support. If you want to help Cornell and get engaged, I suggest that you contact Alumni Services. There are some good folks there that are eager to help you help Cornell. My contribution to the trustee discussion is that of an environmentally aware farmer who intends to change their mind on the topic of fossil fuel divestment. I also have opinions on other topics. We don't need more buildings on the Ithaca campus. Let's repair and renovate the gems we've got. I doubt the recent decision to move the financial offices to Manhattan will be worth the added expense. High-fee hedge funds are probably not good value for the endowment at this time. Our next big financial trawling expedition should be for the carbon-neutral Cornell Fund. Let's convert Cornell's fleet vehicles to plug-in electrics and get more charging stations installed on campus. I'm sure my contribution will enliven the trustee discussion. Well, back in the day, I joined 2 campaigns on behalf of the beekeeping industry. Both were a response to poor decisions made by industry leadership. Without going into detail, let's just say there were conflicts of interest involved. While organizing this grassroots response, I had several positions in state and national trade associations. I wrote articles, spoke at meetings, and was very busy. Our strength grew, and we prevailed with huge industry support. Sometimes we referred to ourselves as a swarm, and we said we were using swarm logic on our opponents. A few years later, Cornell's own Tom Seeley, who was a former head of the Department of Neurobiology and Behavior, wrote a book entitled Honeybee Democracy. In it, he dissects swarm logic and draws parallels between how the human brain and honeybee colonies have co-evolved techniques allowing both to make optimal decisions. What makes Tom's book unique is that he then combines collective intelligence in bees with the neurological basis for human decision-making and comes up with ideas about how groups, like trade associations or boards of directors, can make better decisions. There was one number in Tom's finding that intrigued me. He discovered a tipping point in the swarm's decision-making process where further debate among the bees ends and the correct decision is accepted by the entire colony. This allows it to move in unison to its new home. That tipping point is at 80%, which we might call a supermajority. My point in this business about bees and brains is that the fossil fuel divestment resolution passed through all the university governance bodies with 80% support. A supermajority like this should have triggered our trustees' support for some form of divestment. Multiple analyses have shown that over time a fossil-free portfolio will outperform slightly one that has fossils in it. Also, there's a clear ethical imperative, since we have a good idea how reprehensible our future will be if we continue business as usual. Since 2014, the value of divested institutional funds has doubled every year to over $5 trillion today. Might there be some conflicts of interest on our board when it comes to fossil fuel divestment? I think my experience in the apicultural trade associations could be useful as an alumni trustee. Well, any person, any study thing gets used often. It's a distillation of something Ezra Cornell said to Andrew White as they clarified plans for our university. In 1865, the legislature approved them despite strong opposition statewide. This statement of purpose was emphasized at the opening ceremony in 1868 by both White and Cornell. What's not often remembered is that they were pacifist abolitionists who favored non-sectarian education of people of color and women. Almost all colleges were sectarian at that time. Slaves had only just been freed, and women didn't even have the right to vote, let alone hope for much education. Our founders were educational revolutionaries. Now, with regard to Rowland's statements, his intent was to steady the nerves of DACA students who were rattled by the election of Donald Trump. Their worries are well-founded. Everyone should worry about our climate change denying, racist, sexist, homophobic, anti-press, anti-Muslim, and maybe anti-Semitic leaders in Washington, and I apologize if I left anything out. One of the great songs from the Vietnam War protest area was The Doors' 5 to 1. In it, Jim Morrison sings, and I'm not going to sing today. May take a week, and it may take longer. They've got the guns, but we've got the numbers. We're going to win. Yeah, we're taking over. Come on. I approve of that message. We must be persistent in our resistance. I live near Ithaca, so I've often witnessed the diversity and tolerance displayed by students. One doesn't need to scratch very deeply to recognize the breadth of courses, seminars, and events on offer. The governance groups and student associations are engaged. The faculty and staff work hard to help students find their niche and inspire them to serve the public interest. Occasionally, I think of the Cayugas, who were the original inhabitants of our Ithaca campus. They were members of the Iroquois Confederacy, which had a constitution predating the American version by 200 years. One of their core principles was the idea of seventh-generation stewardship. That means we must work and live for the benefit of the seventh generation into the future. By my reckoning, today's students are the seventh generation. This is what was foreseen by our founders in 1868. Wow. Let's continue that mission with the same vision displayed by Ezra and Andrew so long ago.